Hello everyone, my name is Mitch Worley and I'm a zookeeper here at the world famous Gladys Porter Zoo. Now usually you can find me inside of our herpetarium, caring for the zoo's vast collection of reptiles and amphibians. But today, I'm here for something very special. I'm going to be taking you on a literary adventure. Today, you will hear many different tales written and told by some very famous authors, storytellers, and even some of our own zookeepers. So join me today for quite the exciting literary adventure. Our first tale is a story called Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andre and Guy Reese Cooper. It'll be read to us by my good friend Parker Coppins from Disney's XD's Parker Plays. Take it away, Parker.
Hi everybody, I am Parker Coppins from Disney XD's Parker Plays, and I'm here to read you a book called Giraffes Can't Dance. Shall we begin? Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andrea. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He's a cute little guy, it's like me. Long necks, little tiny toes, little skinny legs. Oh, he's so cute. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Looks like me running as well. Now every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. Oh, the jungle dance. Even hyenas are in there. Oh, little guys. Can you see where the little lion is? He's got a rose in his mouth and everything. The warthog started waltzing. The rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. Ra-ta-ti-ya-pa. Cute. The chimps did the cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. Hey, look at that clumsy Gerald. The animals all sneered. Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird. Oh, poor little Gerald. Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted on the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. Ugh, I feel like such a clot. So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before. So sad and so alone. Poor Gerald. Aww. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. The moon can be so beautiful, he whispered with a sigh. Excuse me, coughed a cricket who'd seen Gerald earlier on, but sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. Aww. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really wanted to. What a smart little cricket. And he plays music too, I'm assuming. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying and his tail was swooshing around. He threw his legs out sideways and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Look at him go. I love it. Gerald felt so wonderful with his mouth open wide. I'm dancing! Yes, I'm dancing! I'm dancing! Gerald cried. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream! Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen! How'd you learn how to dance like that? Please, Gerald, show us how!" But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said. when we find the music we love. That's so cute. What a nice little book. It's about being yourself and being weird. Everybody needs to be weird, finding that music that fits you, you know? All right, send in love, everybody. Hopefully you have a great one. See you guys.
Thank you, Parker. That really is a wonderful tale. Isn't it great when we support and encourage each other? Up next, we have Damian Harrison from our education department with Digit, one of our animal ambassadors.
You dance? Dance? You dance? Yeah.
My name is Damian Harrison, and this is Digit, a blue and gold macaw. She is 6 years old and hatched here at the Gladys Porter Zoo. There are 17 different species of macaws alive today. They are one of the largest parrots in the world, reaching 3.5 feet tall with a wingspan of 5 feet. Blue and gold macaws are able to reach up to 2.5 feet and have a wingspan of 4 feet in length. As you can see, Digit's blue and yellow plumage is very vibrant. The location of these colors are perfect for camouflaging in the forest canopy and are used as a defense mechanism. Their loud squawking and flapping of the large, bright yellow wings will warn off almost any predator. In the wild, macaws will eat a variety of fruits, nuts, berries, flowers, and even leaves. Believe it or not, they also eat some dirt or a specific type of clay in and around cliffs, riverbeds throughout the Amazon in Peru, Brazil, and Paraguay. They do this to counteract any toxins from foods that they may have eaten. Macaws are known for their incredibly strong beak that is capable of biting into the hardest nut in the world, which is the Brazil nut. Have you ever tried biting into a jawbreaker and succeeding? Probably not, but it would be pretty cool, right? If you take a look at her feet, you will see that on each foot there are 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. This unique foot structure is called zygodactyl. This is very useful when climbing up and around and even upside down on tree trunks and branches. Their feet also help them reach foods that are normally difficult to reach. When eating something too large to fit in their beaks, they will use their foot to hold onto it and take bites of it, somewhat similar to how we eat hot dogs and hamburgers. I think I just made myself hungry. This species will become sexually mature at about 4 years of age and breed within the first half of the year and will do so every 1 to 2 years. Females will lay 2 to 3 eggs in vacant tree cavities made by other animals. Hatchlings will then be blind and featherless for about 10 days, and after 3 months, they will then be independent. One of the coolest things about macaws is that once they have found a mate, they will be mates for life, which is also known as monogamous. One of the most interesting things that amazes me is that these 2 to 3 pound birds can live 60 to 70 years. That surprises most macaw owners since they will sometimes outlive them. Although these birds are extraordinary animals because of how impressive and capable they can be, they can also be very destructive, extremely loud, especially when not given the proper amount of attention and care. They can inflict personal wounds to themselves since they do not know how to cope, which is why it is best not to keep them as pets. Digit and I hope you enjoy the presentation, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Damien, and thank you, Digit. Digit was born right here at the Gladys Porter Zoo, and he lives in the education department. Digit is what we call an ambassador animal, and he travels around the different schools and summer camps, and he helps educate the children of the Rio Grande Valley about the beauty and wonder of birds. The next person we have joining us is Melanie Smith, the librarian. Miss Smith is in charge of the library department at Burns Elementary, and she will be reading Anansi and the Moss-Covered Rock by Eric A. Kimmel.
Hey guys, Miss Melanie here. I'm going to share with you a fun story called Anansi and the Moss-Covered Rock. It's retold by Eric A. Kimmel and illustrated by Janet Stevens. When it says retold, it means Eric Kimmel didn't come up with the story. This is actually an old folk tale that came from West Africa and also the Caribbean. Anansi has been around a long time. You know, remember, a long time ago, there were no TVs and no computers. What? And no iPhones and Galaxy phones and no video games. No! So what did people do? They told stories. And they would tell those stories to their kids over and over. And then when those kids grew up, they'd tell their kids. And then those kids would grow up and they'd tell their kids. And wherever those people went in the world, sometimes they didn't get to take anything but just the shirt on their back. But they were able to take their stories and share them. And so we're going to read Anansi and the Moss-Covered Rock today. Once upon a time, Anansi the spider was walking through the forest when something caught his eye. It was a strange moss-covered rock. Ooh, how interesting, Anansi said. Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock? Kaboom! Down, everything went black. Down fell Anansi, senseless. Well, an hour later, Anansi woke up and his head was spinning around and around and around, and he wondered what had happened. I was walking along the path when something caught my eye, and I stopped and I said, isn't this a strange moss-covered rock? Kaboom! Down fell Anansi again. But this time when he woke up an hour later, he knew what was happening. Aha, said Anansi. This is a magic rock. And whenever anyone comes along and says those magic words, isn't this a strange down he goes. Well, this is a good thing to know, said Anansi, and I know just how to use it. So Anansi went walking through the forest until he came to Lion's house. Lion was sitting on the porch, and at his feet was a great pile of yams. Ooh, Anansi loved yams, but he was much too lazy to dig them up himself. Anansi said to Lion, "Hello, Lion. It's very hot today. Don't you think so?" "Oh, yes, Anansi," said Lion. "It is terribly hot." "Well, I am going for a walk in the cool forest," said Anansi. "Would you like to come?" "Oh, yes, I certainly would," said Lion. "Thank you." So Lion and Anansi went walking through the forest. And after a while, Anansi led Lion to a certain place. "Lion, look over there. Do you see what I see?" "Oh, yes, Anansi," said Lion. "Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?" Kaboom! Down fell Lion. Anansi ran back to Lion's house, and he made off with all of Lion's yams. An hour later, Lion woke up, and his head was spinning around and around and around. Anansi was nowhere in sight, and when he got home, Lion saw that every single one of his yams was gone. Well, Lion was very sad, but Anansi was very happy. He couldn't wait to play his trick again. So once more, Anansi went walking through the forest, and this time he stopped at Elephant's house. Elephant was sitting on his porch. At Elephant's feet was a great big pile of bananas. Anansi loved bananas, but he was too lazy to pick them himself. So he said to Elephant, "Hello, Elephant. Isn't it hot today?" "Oh, yes, it is," Elephant agreed. "Well, I'm going to go walking in the cool forest," said Anansi. "Would you like to come?" "Oh, yes, that sounds very nice," said Elephant. "Thank you for inviting me, Anansi." So Anansi and Elephant went walking through the forest. And after a while, Anansi led Elephant to a certain place. "Elephant, look, do you see what I see?" Elephant looked. "Oh, yes, I do, Anansi. Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?" Kaboom! Down fell Elephant. Anansi ran back to Elephant's house and made off with all of the bananas. An hour later, Anansi woke up. His head was spinning around and around and around. Anansi was nowhere in sight. And when he got home, he found out that every single one of his bananas was gone. Elephant was very sad. But Anansi was so happy. He couldn't wait to play his trick again. He played it on rhinoceros and hippopotamus. He played it on giraffe, and he even played it on zebra. He played it on every single one of the animals in the forest. But all of this time, watching from behind the leaves, was Little Bush Deer. And Little Bush Deer was very small and shy and very hard to see. She watched Anansi play this wicked trick again and again on all the other animals, and Little Bush Deer decided it was time for Anansi to learn a lesson. So Little Bush Deer went deep into the forest to where the coconuts grow. And she climbed a coconut tree and she threw down a great many coconuts. She carried the coconuts home in a basket and set them on a porch. Then she sat down and began to wait. In a little while, along came Anansi. Anansi's eyes lit up when he saw Little Bush Deer's coconuts. Oh, Anansi loved coconuts. He loved to eat the tender white coconut meat and drink that sweet coconut milk. But he was much too lazy to gather the coconuts himself. So instead, he said, "Hello, Little Bush Deer. It's so hot today." Little Bush Deer smiled. "Oh yes, it is very hot, Anansi. Well, I am going for a walk in the cool forest. Would you like to come?" "Oh, yes, I would," said Little Bush Deer. So Anansi and Little Bush Deer went walking into the cool forest. And after a while, Anansi led Little Bush Deer to a certain place. "Little Bush Deer, look over there. Do you see what I see?" Now remember, Little Bush Deer knew all about Anansi's trick. She looked and she said, "No, Anansi, I don't see anything." "What? You must see it. Look very carefully," said Anansi. But Little Bush Deer looked again and said, "No, I don't see anything." Well, at this, Anansi got very angry. "You must see it. Look over there. Look right where I'm pointing. Look right where I'm pointing. Do you see it now?" "No, Anansi, I do not see it," said Little Bush Deer. Anansi stomped his legs. "You see it? You just don't want to say it." "Say what?" asked Little Bush Deer. "You know." "Oh, is that what I'm supposed to say?" "Yes," said Anansi. "Oh, all right. Then I will say it to make you happy." "You know," said Little Bush Deer. "There, you see, I said it. Are you happy now and satisfied?" "No, I am not satisfied," said Anansi. "You are not supposed to say, 'you know.'" "Well, what am I supposed to say?" "You are supposed to say, 'Isn't this a strange moss-covered rock?'" Kaboom! Down fell Anansi. Little Bush Deer ran and got all the other animals, and together they went to Anansi's house, and they took back all the good things he had stolen from them. An hour later, Anansi woke up. His head was spinning around and around and around. Little Bush Deer was nowhere in sight. And when Anansi got home, he saw that his house was empty, just as it was before. But if you think Anansi learned his lesson, you're mistaken, because he's still playing tricks to this very day.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I really do think Anansi learned his lesson. Remember that one of the animals Anansi tricked was a hippo. So coming up next is Stephanie, who actually takes care of our hippos right here at the zoo. Take it away, Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a mammal keeper here at the Gladys Porter Zoo. Today I'm going to introduce you to the Pygmy hippopotamus that is closely related to the common hippo, yet is very unique in its own way. They are found in West Africa in highly vegetated areas of Liberia. They are herbivores, semi-aquatic land mammals that spend most of its days submerged in the water, only venturing out at night to graze for food. The Pygmy hippo isn't just a smaller version of the common hippo. It is a distinct species from the common hippopotamus. They are very rare species that is hardly seen in the wild, and little is known about them due to their reclusive and solitary nature. Most of the research gathered about them has been secured through pygmy hippos that live in zoos. The difference between pygmy hippos and common hippos goes beyond size. Their faces are narrower, rounder, and their eyes are located on the side of their head. They have longer legs and have less webbing on their toes. Weighing between 350 to 550 pounds, pygmy hippos stand 2.5 feet tall and measure 5 feet from head to tail. Their tails serve a unique purpose. They use it to throw waste to mark the territory. The pygmy hippo's adaptation to cope with the harsh environment is its unique skin. Its skin has several layers, including one thick layer called the dermis, but the top layer is susceptible to sunburn. Therefore, the pygmy hippo will secrete a reddish, oily fluid from special glands in its skin. It appears red when exposed to full sunlight, leading the first European explorers of Africa to call it blood sweat, but the fluid isn't sweat or blood. The blood sweat creates a layer of mucus that protects the hippo's skin in various ways. It functions as a sunscreen, a skin moisturizer, water repellent, and antibiotic. Since the pygmy hippo spends so much time in the water, its skin can become waterlogged. This fluid also helps prevent that from happening. It is also believed that the mucus may also prevent infections. They tend to live alone but can be found in pairs or occasionally in small family groups. Here at the Gladys Porter Zoo, we have our very own family that consists of one grown male, Juanito, who is 17 years old and was born here at the zoo November 14th of 2003, and one grown female, Clover, who is 16 years old and born on March 17th, 2004. She came from Oklahoma City Zoo. They had a calf on October 30th, 2018. Her name is Boo, and now is 2 years old. Each has their own distinct personality. Juanito doesn't care about anything and is never impressed with any of the animal enrichment activities that we present to him, no matter how hard we try. Animal enrichment is performed on a daily basis at the zoo to keep animals healthy. It helps stimulate their natural instincts that they would generally use in the wild. Now, Clover and Boo, on the other hand, are very outgoing and interactive during their animal enrichment sessions. They get super excited when given whole pumpkins and will devour them with great enthusiasm. Boo gets especially excited when she's given her pink ball, which she joyfully pushes around in the pool. I hope you enjoyed learning about our awesome pygmy hippos. Come and visit us soon.
Thank you, Stephanie. If the river hippo is known as the horse of the river, then the pygmy hippo should be known as the pony of the river, because pygmy hippos are only 1/10 the size of a river hippo. This tale is told by one of the authors of Animals of My Land, Rosie Evelyn Lima.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Lima and I am very happy to be here with you and share Animals of My Land, Animales de mi tierra, no yolcan yolque. This is going to be a bilingual presentation. Hola a todos, soy la doctora Lima y estoy muy contenta de estar con ustedes para compartir el libro Animales de mi tierra, Animals of My Land, no yolcan yolque. This book is very special to me because it contains 10 animals that are endemic to the Americas. Este libro es muy importante para mí porque tiene a 10 animalitos que son endémicos de las Américas. With this book, you're gonna learn what some of these animals do and hopefully you'll have a favorite at the end. Con este libro vas a aprender sobre lo que hacen estos animalitos y tal vez al final tengas algún favorito. The illustrations for this book were done by the amazing painter Gaby Rico. Las ilustraciones de este libro las hizo la fabulosa pintora Gaby Rico. For this book, I will do the reading in English, then Spanish, and then Nahuatl. Nahuatl is the language of the Mexicas or Aztecs, and it's a language that is still spoken in Mexico and the United States. Para esta presentación voy a leer primero en inglés, después en español y después en náhuatl. El náhuatl es el idioma de los mexicas o aztecas, como quizá los conozcas, y es un idioma que todavía es hablado en México y muchas partes de Estados Unidos. I want to give a special thanks to Gladys Porter Zoo for inviting me to join you today, and let's start. Quiero agradecer a Gladys Porter Zoo por invitarme a estar con ustedes el día de hoy y vamos a comenzar. Animals of my land, animales de mi tierra, no yolcan yolque. Hello, my name is Quetzali, and I want you to meet my friends, the animals of my land. Hola, mi nombre es Quetzali y quiero que conozcas a mis amigos, los animales de mi tierra. Nilse newal no toca Quetzali, iwan nigneki innognicuantiki mislamati, ignoyolcan yolke. Jaguar, jaguar, ocelotl. I am a jaguar and I have long claws. Show me your nails. Soy un jaguar y tengo garras largas. Enséñame tus uñas. Newal nocelotl iwan nistepatlawaj mostewan ninexititia. Dog, perro, iscuintli. I am a dog and I like to play. Do you like to play? Yes or no? Soy un perro y me gusta jugar. ¿A ti te gusta jugar? ¿Sí o no? Newal niscuintli iwan ninowelawiltia, cuixtitowelawiltia, cuixquemah nosoahmo. Macaw, guacamaya, alotl. I am a macaw and I move my head up and down. Move your head. Soy una guacamaya y muevo mi cabeza de arriba a abajo. Mueve tu cabeza. Newal nalotl iwan nocuay niquinolinia ajpopa tlanipa. Maxiquiloninia mocuay. Monkey, mono, osomatli. I am a monkey and I have fingers. Move your fingers. Soy un mono y tengo dedos. Mueve tus dedos. Newal nosomatli iwan nimajpilej inmopali tiquinolinia. Hummingbird, colibrí, huitzilin. I am a hummingbird and I am very small. Are you small? Yes or no? Soy un colibrí y soy muy pequeño. ¿Tú eres pequeño? ¿Sí o no? Newal nihuitzilin, iwan ninepitontli. ¿Cuixtitepitontli? ¿Cuixquemah? Nosoahmo. Mountain lion, puma, mistli. I am a mountain lion and I have a pink nose. Touch your nose. Soy un puma y mi nariz es rosa. Toca tu nariz. Newan nimistli iwan tlastalewaltij noyaka. Mayaka tikimachtemoa. Frog, rana, cuellatl. I am a frog and I like to jump. Jump with me. Soy una rana y me gusta saltar. Salta conmigo. Newal nicuellatl, iwan nihuelxoloa, maximoxoloa notlok. Quetzal, quetzal, quetzaltototl. I am a quetzal and I like to sing. Do you like to sing? Yes or no? Soy un quetzal y me gusta cantar. ¿A ti te gusta cantar? ¿Sí o no? Newal ni quetzaltototl, iwan nihuelcuica, cuixtihuelcuica, cuixquemah, nosoahmo. Coyote, coyote, coyotl. I am a coyote and I like to howl. Howl with me. ¡Au! Soy un coyote y me gusta aullar. Aulla conmigo. ¡Au! Newal ni coyotl, iwan nihuelchoca, notloctichoca. ¡Au! Rabbit, conejo, tochtli. I am a rabbit and I have long ears. Toss your ears. Soy un conejo y tengo orejas largas. Toca tus orejas. Nehual ni tochtli, iwan ni nakashpatlawaj, monakasuan tikimachtemoa. Crocodile, cocodrilo, sipactli. I am a crocodile and I have many teeth. Show me your teeth. Soy un cocodrilo y tengo muchos dientes. Enséñame tus dientes. Nehual nisapactli, iwan miek nitlanej, motlan titenixtitia. Possum, tlacuache, tlacuatzin. I am a possum and I like to climb trees. Do you like to climb trees? Yes or no? Soy un tlacuache y me gusta trepar árboles. ¿A ti te gusta trepar árboles? ¿Sí o no? Nehual ni tlacuatzin, iwan nihuelcuautlejco. Cuix tihuelcuautlejco, cuix quemaj, no soagmo. Armadillo, armadillo, ayotochtli. I am an armadillo and I can touch my feet. Touch your feet. Soy un armadillo y puedo tocar mis patas. Toca tus pies. Nehuan nayotochtli iwan nishi nikinhuelimachtemoa, moixi tikimachtemoa. Butterfly, mariposa, papalotl. I am a butterfly and I like flowers. Do you like flowers? Yes or no? Soy una mariposa y me gustan las flores. ¿A ti te gustan las flores? ¿Sí o no? Nehual ni papalotl, iwan ni xoxicualita. Cuix tixoxicualita, cuix quemaj, no soagmo. Mexican salamander, ajolote, axolotl. I am a Mexican salamander and I like to smile. Let's smile together. Soy un ajolote y me gusta sonreír. Vamos a sonreír juntos. Nehuat naxolotl, iwan nelihuexhuetzka, tehuan ma tixhuetzka. These are my friends, the animals of my land. Help me take care of them. Estos son mis amigos, los animales de mi tierra. Ayúdame a cuidarlos. Innikej nokniwan ignoyolkanyolke, tinexpaleuia tikimkuitlawaj. Well, I hope you enjoyed the reading of this wonderful book. And do you have a favorite? Espero que hayas disfrutado de la lectura de este libro. Y ahora dime, ¿tienes algún favorito? Mi animal favorito es el ajolote. My favorite animal is the Mexican salamander because it's always smiling like me. Well, remember that we need to take care of the animals in our land, and it is our responsibility to love them and preserve them and take care of them, ¿ok? Espero que hayas disfrutado de este libro y que recuerdes que tenemos que cuidar a los animalitos. Es nuestra responsabilidad protegerlos y quererlos y cuidarlos. Hasta la próxima.
Tasokamate, Miss Lima. Thank you very much.
So we have a very special treat coming up for you folks up next, especially y'all who love crafts. We have our very own, very talented artist, Carol DeMoss, who will be joining us to teach you guys how to make your very own tail. If you'd like to see more of Carol's artwork, come to the zoo. Her murals are all over zoo property, but especially here in the reptile house. Most of all the exhibits you see inside of our building are all painted by Carol. One of Carol's favorite species of animals to paint is the Kemp's ridley sea turtle. Now, if you're not familiar with this endangered species of turtle, up next we have Jane Puck Garza reading her story, The Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle Twins.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jane Garza, and I've been writing children's books. I've been writing books about animals who are disappearing from our areas, and we want to do something about that. So one of the books that I've written is Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle Twins, and that's the one I'm going to read to you in a few minutes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I started writing. I started writing as an elderly person. I wrote my first book when I was 74 years old, and all my books have been illustrated by my grandchildren. Now I'm going to read this story to you. I hope you enjoy it. I forgot to tell you that sometimes I'm called the Hat Lady because I always wear a hat, and my tip to you is to wear sunscreen, sunblock, a hat, no matter the color of your skin. This will protect you from that sun that's so strong here in the Rio Grande Valley. All right, here's our story for today. This is Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle Twins. And I'm the author, Jane Garza. My youngest granddaughter, Jordan Garza, drew the pictures for this book. I think you'll enjoy this book. I wrote a prologue, or a beginning of a book, and it says, the author, me, poses the question, what would your life be like if you were a Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle? Then the author, me, reflects, oh, if I were a Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle, I think I would have a great life. First of all, I would have a huge area in which to live and swim. In addition, I would have special foods I could eat. Also, there would be so many turtle friends with whom I could eat, play, and swim. It's wonderful that I could expect to enjoy such a great life. The author, me, encourages all to keep reading to learn about the life of a Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle. And the story begins, Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtle Twins. It was a frenzy of approximately 100 baby Kemp's Ridley Sea Turtles scampering to the Gulf water as fast as their little flippers could carry them. Many humans stood at the water's edge to watch this event. Sea Turtle Incorporated had organized this release of turtle hatchlings as they do most mornings from July through August. Hatchlings must be in an active state to be released. This active state is called a frenzy. At times, a frenzy happens at night. Then the baby turtles are released in the middle of the night and use the moonlight to move from the beach to the sea. And I have to tell you that many times people who live on the land near the beach turn their lights on. Then the poor baby turtles get distracted and they hurry toward the land, toward the buildings on the land. So we have to refrain. We have to not turn on our lights if we live near the beach during this time of year. And many states have laws keeping us from turning those lights on. At any rate, many times the hatchlings are captured by predators also. Some predators may be birds, raccoons, or fish. Twin turtles, Tommy and Johnny, were scurrying along rapidly to reach the water when Johnny cried out, "Tommy, watch out for the big shell ahead of us." Tommy yelled back, "Thanks, Johnny. You are so good to watch out for me. We'll need to be very careful not to get hurt." Johnny yelled again, "Tommy, watch out for ghost crabs. Turtle hatchlings are part of their diet. They are nocturnal creatures, which means they come out at night, but they will come out in the daytime to catch us. Tommy yelled, "Oh yes, I'll be very careful. You be careful too." Johnny and Tommy were in unison with all the other hatchlings hurrying to reach the water. Johnny said, "Tommy, remember to make your imprint on the sand so we'll remember to return to this beach when we are adult sea turtles." A turtle imprint means that the turtle will fix or keep in its mind the path that it has taken so it can return to the same place. Tommy replied, "Oh yes, that is important for us to do since we want to come back to this same beach." Johnny said, "This is such an exciting adventure. We're on our way to the sea." Actually, only female turtles will return to the same beach from where they were hatched. Together they yelled, "Hooray for us! On our way to the sea." One of the things that I will tell you is that the female turtles come back year after year to the same area. There's an area in Mexico where they go, a 16-mile beach, and also they come to South Padre Island Beach to lay their clutches of eggs. So that's why they want to leave their imprint, even though they probably won't be coming back as much as the female turtles. As they went along the sandy beach, Johnny exclaimed, "It is difficult for sea turtles to survive to adulthood. Usually 1 in 1,000 babies live to be an adult turtle when they are in the wild. We are blessed because with the help of Sea Turtle Incorporated and the Sea Turtle Nest Conservation Program, we have a much better chance of surviving. The probability that we will live longer is about 1 in 300 surviving." Tommy said, "You are smart, Johnny. I'm glad you're my twin." As the babies turtles reached the edge of the water, they began swimming faster than ever, attempting to reach the beginning of the waves. Johnny yelled out, "Tommy, remember to surface to breathe about every 2 minutes." "Oh yes," said Tommy, "I'll do that for sure." After swimming beyond the first wave for a short distance, Tommy said, "Johnny, let's try to do synchronized swimming," doing the same thing at the same time together. Johnny thought for a moment and said, "Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll swim side by side. First we'll swim on our bellies, then on our backs, then we can do 2 somersaults in the water." Tommy asked, "Is it possible for us to then swim in a figure-8 form, then in concentric circles, and end our swim fest by meeting together at the edge of the shore by the area where the reeds are?" Johnny agreed, and so that is what they did. When they reached the reedy area, they rested and ate a couple of sargassum seaweed pieces. This seaweed is a plant like algae, and it grows in shallow waters. Tommy and Johnny enjoyed their sargassum seaweed. Crabs are the favorite food of the juvenile Kemp's ridley turtles. When they are older, they will enjoy mollusks, crustaceans, jellyfish, fish, algae, seaweed, and sea urchins for their daily meals. Johnny said, "Tommy, we must be very careful or the crabs will catch us before we can catch them. There are many crabs in this area." Tommy agreed that they must be ever so cautious. While they were resting in the shallow water near some reeds, Tommy asked, "Johnny, why do you call me your twin?" There were approximately 100 hatchlings that left our mother's clutch of eggs and hurried in a frenzy to the sea from the beach. Johnny replied, "Tommy, you and I were next to each other in the eggs in our mother's clutch, and when we hurried to the sea, you and I were going as fast as possible, side by side. That's why I call you my twin." The Kemp's ridley sea turtles nest in a special way. "Arribada" is a Spanish word for arrival, said Johnny. "Tommy, Can you say arrebada? Asked Johnny. Tommy replied, I'll try. How does the arrebada happen? Johnny explained. Many mother turtles arrive in large groups. Perhaps this kind of arrival will keep predators from attacking them, as there will be many nests hatching at the same time. Many small turtle babies will be heading to the water, and they could be easily attacked. Then Tommy said, Johnny, I feel like I want to see my mother again. Do you suppose we could look for her? Look, yelled Tommy. See that large turtle turned upside down on the sand? Yes, said Johnny. That is called turned turtle. And unless he is turned right side up, he will die. Let's swim over and see if we can help him. Away swam the twins to help the turned turtle. When they approached the turned turtle, they asked, How can we turn you right side up? At first, the bigger turtle seemed frightened. Then he said, I'm not quite sure how I got turned upside down. A huge wave was coming my way and washed me over to this sandy area. Then I realized I was wrong side up. I need help. The poor struggling turtle, whose name was Jeff, sobbed. Try to find a stick. Then you two can put it under my back. Rock me back and forth until finally I'll land on my belly. It won't be easy, but I'm sure you two can help me out of this dreadful situation. The twins talked over Jeff's idea and thought that it might work. They decided to try it. Then the twins quickly found a stick and rolled it near poor Jeff. Then they pushed one end under Jeff, the turtle in distress. Johnny said, Now, Tommy, we must use all our strength. You push the end away from Jeff as high up as you can, and I'll roll this rock under it. Then we will use our flippers to rock the stick up and down until we turn Jeff over. Johnny and Tommy rocked and rocked the stick many times. They were getting very tired when Jeff said, Rock me one more time, and I'll do my best to help push me over on my belly. The twins gathered all their strength, and Jeff pushed with all his might. And suddenly the three yelled in excitement, We did it! We did it! Jeff was no longer in distress. He would live. He was upright on his belly. At that time, the three turtles decided to rest for a while. They were extremely tired from working so hard to upright poor Jeff. Jeff was so relieved and delighted, he said to the twins, Thank you, young Kemp's Ridley turtles. You have saved my life. I would like to do something for you two. Is there something I can do for you? Johnny and Tommy thought for a moment. Then Johnny said, We would like to find our mother. Do you think you could help us do that? Jeff replied. I understand that Mother Kemp's Ridley turtles swim out to sea after placing their clutch of eggs in the sand. They swim away and let the hatchlings get out of their shells and to the water by themselves. Johnny was shocked. He said, I've heard that human mothers usually stay with their baby children until they are almost grown adults. And I can tell you from being a mother, yes, that's true. It's strange that our mother left us to use our small temporary tooth called a carnuckle to break out of our eggshells and then find our way to the sea by ourselves. What do you think about all this, Johnny? Asked Tommy. Johnny replied, I think we might never see our mother again, and I know we must become very independent at an extremely young age. Jeff told his two young friends, You two are strong, and I know you will survive. You are the smallest sea turtles to live in the Gulf of Mexico, and you are the only sea turtle with an almost circular upper shell. As a young turtle, you are dark gray in color, And when you grow into an adult Kemp's ridley turtle, you have a triangular shaped head. Also, your color will change to olive green on the upper shell and to yellow on the shell below. You are a unique turtle. You are a unique sea turtle, and I'm proud to have met you both. Thanks again for helping me survive, he continued. Then Jeff waved goodbye with his flippers and swam away. Just at that time, Tommy exclaimed, "Johnny, look to the left. A great crab is coming our way. I think he wants to catch us. Tommy, do a quick somersault and head toward the sunset. I'm coming right after you. Swim fast. So we will outswim that hungry crab," said Johnny. The twins swam as fast as they could and finally were able to escape the strong claws of the sea crab. Again, the twins found themselves near the water's edge, and they had developed a huge appetite after swimming so fast for such a distance in order to escape the crab. Tommy asked, "Johnny, can we stop now for a while? I'm hungry." "Yes," replied Johnny. "We are getting larger now, and we must eat more. In fact, I'm also hungry, and I think if you and I work together, we can catch our first crab." So the twins decided Tommy would wait close to the shore until a crab came by. Soon Johnny said quietly, "Here comes a crab, Tommy. You stay where you are, and when the crab gets near you, I'll tackle him from behind." You'd think they're playing football. "Then we'll work together to subdue him, and he'll fulfill our hungry feeling." As Tommy and Johnny fought the crab, they felt him weaken and collapse. Then the twins enjoyed a great lunch. "I really liked my crab lunch," said Tommy. Johnny agreed and said, "Yes, it was delicious." After resting a while, the twins began thinking about their future. Johnny said, "Male turtles usually spend most of their lives in water and sometimes near the bottom of the sea, only returning to the feeding and breeding grounds at certain times. Male turtles mate with females when the opportunity arises or when they are in the breeding grounds. So," said Tommy, "we'll spend most of our lives in deep water." "That's correct," replied Johnny. "I know we're growing," said Johnny, "and I hope we'll always stay together. We'll always be close in our hearts. But in case we become separated, I want us to do something special." "What's that?" asked Tommy. "Do you remember the reedy area near water's edge where we first ate sargassum?" asked Johnny. "Oh, yes," replied Tommy. "Do you remember seeing the large tree near that area?" asked Johnny. Tommy responded that he did remember the tree. Johnny said, "I think we should swim to that tree and make a mark on the tree and meet there each year at the same time in case we get separated." So Johnny and Tommy swam back to the reedy area and made their way to the tree. They each took a stick and made a mark on the tree. Then the twins went back to the water and swam excitedly into the Gulf of Mexico. Johnny exclaimed, "Tommy, now I really feel great knowing that if we get separated from each other, we'll meet at our special tree once a year." Tommy yelled, "Johnny, that was a smart idea to mark a tree for us to come back and meet each other. You're such a wonderful twin brother." The twins then headed out to the deeper waters. Johnny and Tommy were fortunate that they lived and grew into adult Kemp's ridley sea turtles weighing nearly 100 pounds and were nearly 2 feet long. Johnny said, "Tommy, I'm so glad we've lived to be adult Kemp's ridley sea turtles. We've been so lucky." "Yes," replied Tommy, "and it was good we agreed to return to our marked tree if we ever become separated." Together, Johnny and Tommy yelled, "We are glad to be Kemp's ridley sea turtle twins." Johnny and Tommy lived long lives in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico and spent much time near the bottom of the Gulf enjoying time with each other. The end. There are a few things that I didn't really put in the book that would be interesting to you. A visit to Sea Turtle Incorporated on South Padre Island will show you some of the work that has been done with turtles. A lady named Isla Fox Letcher came from Iowa many years ago. She came to South Padre Island in 1961, and she just fell in love with Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. So she started taking care of them, and she got a license from the state of Texas to rescue, rehabilitate, and return injured turtles, injured Kemp's Ridley sea turtles to the waters. And the Kemp's Ridley sea turtles, the females, become mature at about 10 to 12 years of age, and then they make a nest 2 or 3 times during a season from about April to maybe June on South Padre Island and a stretch of land in Mexico also. It takes about 45 days for the eggs to turn into hatchlings. This lady, Isla Fox Letcher, former female aviator, she flew planes before she came to the island to live, and she took care of Kemp's Ridley sea turtles for many years until she was no longer able to do that. And at that time, the other people had joined her to be volunteers to help these turtles. And then Sea Turtle Incorporated was developed, and it took over all this responsibility. They still work with these turtles, but they do it on a volunteer basis. Mostly there are some paid employees, but they depend a lot on contributions. And if you ever have an opportunity to contribute to this organization, I recommend that you do that. It's very wonderful that they can help these poor turtles survive the plight that they go through. There are many dangers in the oceans for them. There's human predators. There's many pieces of plastic that people have thrown into the ocean. And sometimes these turtles get tangled in the different pieces of plastic. Sometimes they even try to eat the plastic because they think it would be something good for them. However, it causes great injury to them. So I recommend that you continue thinking about, reading about, doing whatever you can to help the plight of the Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. Thank you for listening today.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. We can all do our part to help further sea turtle conservation. In 1978, the Gladys Porter Zoo teamed up with the country of Mexico to help further conservation efforts for this critically endangered species. Another great facility that's doing their part to help sea turtle conservation is Sea Turtle Inc. Let's go for a visit.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Jamerson and I'm the Education Director for Sea Turtle Inc. Sea Turtle Inc. is a nonprofit sea turtle hospital on South Padre Island, Texas. We have a 3-tier mission at our facility to rescue and rehabilitate sick and injured sea turtles for release back out into the wild, to educate the public about sea turtles and the natural environment, and to work towards conservation efforts for all marine turtle species. If you guys do get a chance to come over to South Padre Island, feel free to come and visit me and all of our turtles in person.
Hi, we can't wait for you to come and visit the sea turtles.
I am just having so much fun today, and I hope you guys are too. And we are so excited that you were able to join us this year, not only to celebrate Wild Tales, but also the 50th anniversary at the Gladys Porter Zoo. Now I hear the librarian Melanie Smith is still hanging around. Let's see if we can get her to read one of my favorite stories called 2 Ways to Count to 10.
Hi, Mitch. Of course I'm still here. Of course I'll read another story. I'm going to read to you now 2 Ways to Count to 10. This is one of my all-time favorite books to read aloud. It's a Liberian folktale. Now, Liberia is on the other side of the world. It's a little bitty country, and this story started there. It's retold by Ruby D, which means she didn't think it up, but she heard it and she loved it, and so she wanted to make sure she could share it with you. Remember, old folk tales like this have been passed down to generation to generation to generation. Parents would tell their kids over and over. Those kids would grow up and they'd tell their kids. And then those kids would grow up and they'd tell their kids. And wherever people go in the world, sometimes even if they don't have luggage or anything, they just have what they're wearing at the time. People can always take their stories. And that's what's happened with a lot of the African folktales. So I really want to share this one with you today. 2 ways to count to 10. It's illustrated by Susan Meadow. Long ago, animals were not so different one from the other. They were different colors and shapes and sizes just as they are today. But they lived together in friendship and in peace. The leopard was king. He was rich beyond telling, mighty in his power and wisdom. All the other animals respected and loved their king. Who shall I name to rule after me when I die? King Leopard said one day to his beloved daughter. I must seek out the cleverest beast in our jungle. I must find one who is wise enough to rule well. I shall make him a prince, and someday, my dear daughter, the 2 of you shall be queen and king. Ooh, kissy, kissy. King Leopard was pleased with his idea, and he planned a great feast. His royal drums carried the news of the feast far and wide throughout the jungle. And all the animals came as guests, and they danced for 3 days. At last, the king told them all to come and get into a huge circle. Stepping into the center, he called his daughter to his side, and then he spoke in a loud voice. Listen, my friends, he cried. Someday when I am gone, another king must rule in my place. I will choose him now from among one of you so that he will be ready. There was a murmur of excitement all through the crowd. A murmur's like this. I shall seek the cleverest one among you, for your king must be wise. He shall be a son to me and a husband to my dear daughter. Ooh, kissy, kissy. He shall share all of my riches. Shouts came from all the eager guests at the king's feast. No doubt each animal hoped that the good fortune would be his. Then King Leopard held up his hunting spear. Look at this, my people, and watch. He flung the spear far up into the air, and then he caught it when it fell down to earth again. With this spear, I will test you. He who would be our prince must be able to throw this spear all the way towards the sky. He must send it so high that he can count to 10 before it comes back down again. There was a buzz of talk among all the animals. This was not going to be so hard to do, they thought. One after another, they came forward to try their skill. But first, each beast danced and sang before his king and the daughter. I'll be first, said the elephant, pushing all the other beasts out of the way. The elephant danced very clumsily. He was very big and his body was very heavy. With his trunk in the air, he trumpeted all the fine deeds he would perform if he were king. I will be king. I can do this thing, he said with his trunk. With his trunk, the great beast threw King Leopard's spear up into the air. 1, 2, 3, he began counting. But before the elephant had said 4, the king's spear dropped back down to earth. The proud beast hung his head so low that the tip of his trunk dragged on the ground. He had failed. Next came Bush Ox. I will be king. I can do this thing, said Bush Ox. I can throw that spear all the way to the sun. The bush ox picked up the spear in his mouth, and with a mighty toss of his great head, he flung it far, far above his wide gray horns. 1, 2, 3, 4, the bush ox counted. But he too was too slow. Before he could say 5, the spear was back down on the ground. And he went off ashamed, back into the jungle. The chimpanzee was third. He jumped up and down, beating his hairy chest with his fists and singing how much he would like to be king. The chimpanzee rose up on his hind legs and he held the spear in one hand, just like a man. I will be king! I can do this thing, he said. And with a twist of his long arm, he threw it up all the way towards the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7! He chattered as fast as he could. The animals held their breath. Surely, with such a quick tongue, he could make the count. But he did not. Just as he said 8, the spear fell back into his hand. Then the crowd parted. The lion stepped majestically into the center of the circle. The lion had always wanted to be king anyway, and now was his chance to prove that he was the finest animal in all of the jungle. With a fling of his mighty mane, he danced and sang of his royal intentions. I will be king. I can do this thing, he sang. And as all the other animals looked on in awe, the lion twirled his tail around the spear and he threw it skyward with a thunderous roar. 1, 2, 3, 4. The spear rose higher and higher. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And just as he said 9, the spear pierced the earth at his feet. The lion was furious and off he stalked back into the jungle. One by one, all of the other animals tried to count to 10 while the spear was still in the air. And one by one, they all failed. It seems I must look somewhere else for a beast who is clever enough to rule when I am gone, King Leopard said, very sadly. Let me try to throw your spear, O king, came a brave voice from the crowd, and out stepped the slender antelope. I would like very much to marry your beautiful daughter. I will be king. I can do this thing. Did you hear that? All the other animals broke into laughter. How could this weak and puny creature possibly throw the king's spear high enough to count to more than 2 or 3? How could he hope to succeed when all the other animals, even the lion, had failed? But the young antelope would not be turned aside. Please, I wish to try, he insisted. King Leopard nodded his head. Who can say what any creature can do until he has tried? The king said to the crowd. The antelope must throw the spear. So the animals all moved back to give him room. And when the antelope danced, King Leopard's daughter was very pleased. No one could deny that his steps were more graceful than all the other animals' steps. And with a toss of his head, he flung that spear far up into the air. And before it could fall back down to earth, he called out just 5 words. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, he cried. There, you see, I have counted to 10. King Leopard did not say how the count had to be made. The king laughed and nodded his royal head. That is right. No, I did not say how the count had to be made, he agreed. And as everyone knows, one can count to 10 by 2s just as well as by 1s. Remember, my friends, it is not always the biggest or the strongest, but sometimes the cleverest one that wins the prize. The antelope has won the contest. He shall be king because he has done this thing. At the wedding feast which King Leopard gave for his daughter, the animals all cheered their clever new prince.
Thank you very much, Miss Smith. All those animals wanted to be king. We all know who the true king of the jungle is, the lion. Now next up, we're gonna have my good friend Jonathan talk to us about a really cool animal. Now Jonathan is a carnivore keeper here at the Galapagos Zoo, which means he cares for all the lions, tigers, and bears found here in the zoo. Go ahead, take it away, Jonathan.
Hi, my name is Jonathan and I'm a carnivore keeper. Here at the Gladys Porter Zoo, we have over 1,600 species of animals. But as a carnivore keeper, I care for the meat-eating animals like the bears, tigers, and lions. Today, I'm going to chat with you about the African lion. When people think of lions, the first thing that comes to mind is the king of the jungle, which sounds about right since you can hear their roar up to 5 miles away. Their size also helped them receive that title. African lions are the second largest big cat. African lions are the only big cats that live in groups, which is known as prides. They are found in the grasslands of sub-Saharan Africa. A pride will usually consist of a few males, about a dozen females, and their cubs. They are sexually dimorphic, which means that there is a difference in size appearance between the males and the females. You can easily tell the difference between the males and the females. The males are a lot bigger, weighing up to 420 pounds, and their bodies can measure up to 6.5 feet with a tail that can measure up to 39.5 inches. The males also have mane, which will darken as the male ages. A male will begin to grow mane at about 12 to 14 months. The mane serves a very important purpose, especially in the wild. It helps the lion look more impressive to females, and it makes the male appear more intimidating. It can be used to protect the lion's neck when fighting over territory and breeding rights. The lion is the only member of the cat family with a tufted tail, which is a short cluster of elongated strands of hair at the end of it. The tail serves as a vital function for the big cat. It helps it balance itself, especially when hunting. It is used to communicate directional commands, attract females, and as a fly swatter. Now let's meet Jamil. He also responds to the name Jamie. He was born on August 15th of 2008, making him 13 years old today, and was brought from Sedgwick County Zoo in 2011. Jamie is a unique lion that eagerly awaits his keeper's arrival every day. On a daily basis, he is fed specialized carnivore diet. He is also given special treats, which is a form of animal enrichment. He loves these animal enrichment activities. For example, believe it or not, Jamie loves the scent of the cologne Obsession by Calvin Klein. There are times that we will spray it on the branch, and which will arouse his senses and cause him to pursue that scent. And that is the behavior he would naturally practice in the wild. Another activity that he loves is when we hide his carnivore diet in a box. He will shred that box into pieces in search for his food, which helps him utilize his retractable claws. Another interesting fact is that male lions have brief moments of intense activity followed by long hours of relaxing and sleeping. They can sleep for 21 hours each day. They are apex predators, meaning that they are at the top of the food chain with no natural predators, so they have time to relax. And as fierce as the males look, the lioness are the ones who usually hunt for the pride in the pack. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning about the lions, and we hope to see you soon. And don't be surprised to find Jamie relaxing next time you visit him, because that is what they naturally do.
Thank you, Jonathan, for talking about that beautiful African lion, Jamal. Now, I like mammals, but reptiles are my absolute favorite. A couple of years ago, Marsha Diane Arnold wrote a book called Galapagos Girl, which she is going to read right now.
Hello, everyone. I am delighted to be part of Gladys Porter Zoo's Wild Tales Literacy event. I think I have a few wild tales to share. The book I'm going to be reading is Galapagos Girl, Galapagueña. But first, I want to ask a question. How many of you would like to swim in the ocean with sea lions? I bet a lot of you would. In the Galapagos Islands, which is the setting for Galapagos Girl, you can swim with sea lions and sea turtles and very cute penguins. I was lucky to be able to swim with all of these animals when I visited the Galapagos. My favorite were the sea lions. And here's a picture I took of one of the sea lions on land. But when they're in the water with you, they will twirl around you, they will mimic you, they will tease you, and it's great fun. I hope all of you get a chance to swim with Galapagos sea lions someday. The real Valentina, who my character in Galapagos Girl was inspired by, swam with sea lions and penguins most of her life. She started when she was just about 8 years old. And my book actually began in 2007, 14 years ago, when I visited the Galapagos. It is a bilingual book written in 2 languages, Spanish and English. Yo hablo y leo un poco de español. I read and speak a little bit of Spanish, but not nearly enough to translate it. So we had a translator, translated Adriana Dominguez. And if you speak and read both English and Spanish, you can read my book in 2 languages, which would be very fun and good for you. Now, I believe most of you, or at least the Gladys Porter Zoo, is in Brownsville, Texas. And you might wonder, well, how would I get to the Galapagos? You would either travel through or over in a plane, Mexico and Central America, and then down into South America, and then you'd find the country of Ecuador and the Pacific Ocean. Then, when you were in Ecuador, you'd go to the coast, you'd get in a ship or a plane, and you'd travel 600 miles to the west to the remote and one-of-a-kind Galapagos Islands. That's where I met Valentina Cruz. She was my nature guide, and she showed me the extremely unusual animals and plants that live on the Galapagos. Some of these animals and plants are nowhere else on Earth. So Valentina was born and grew up on the Galapagos Islands with her mother, her father, and 11 brothers and sisters. When her father first came, before he had his wife and family, he was one of the first 100 people to live on the islands. Now there are 13 main islands and 100 plus littler islands, and only 100 people lived on all those islands. On Floriana, where he was, there were only about 13. He was a true adventurer. He loved the wild and he loved adventuring. Now, some of the very first people, before Valentina's father, the very first people who visited the Galapagos were pirates and whalers in whaling ships. And then later came scientists like Charles Darwin. The early explorers and whalers called the Galapagos Islands Las Encantadas because they seemed to appear out of nowhere from the misty waters of the mighty Pacific Ocean. Islas Encantadas, enchanted islands. And if the travelers stopped on the islands, they discovered even more enchanted things. Here's one of them. Sally Lightfoot crabs. These are always scampering to and fro on the rocks between the land and the water. So we must be careful when we step because they are just everywhere. And aren't they beautiful? Well, let's see what other enchanting things there might be. Let's go ahead and read. Galapagos Girl, Galapagueña. The first page is the title page with Valentina. Now, this is a fiction book, so it's inspired by Valentina and her life, but not everything is exactly true, but most of it is, and all the things about the animals are true. And this is the dedication page. It says, for Valentina Cruz Bedon, who taught me there, and Jean Gallagher, who took me there, and this wonderful illustration of the blue-footed boobies. Jean Gallagher is a very good friend, and she invited me to go to the Galapagos with her, so I will forever be grateful to her. Okay. I want you to try to see all of this at once. Valentina was born on an island formed by fire, surrounded by blue-green sea. Sea lions splashed their greetings. Blue-footed boobies danced. Iguanas saluted from a lava bridge. Welcome, Galapagos girl, they seem to say. Bienvenida, Galapagueña, echoed Papa, Mama, and 11 brothers and sisters. There they are. On Floriana, one of many Galapagos islands, Valentina spent her days exploring. She scampered over lava rocks with Sally Lightfoot crabs. There are all those wonderful crabs. She swam with manta rays, dolphins, and here on the warm equator, a surprise. Penguins. Penguinos. Yes, the Galapagos penguin lives in the Galapagos Islands. He lives farther north than any other penguin in the world, and they're quite small, very beautiful. Valentina watched pink flamingos wading near mangroves, blue butterflies fluttering on the breeze, red and green iguanas sneezing salt like tiny geysers. Now, the Galapagos marine iguanas are the only lizard in the world that graze in the ocean. They eat seaweed. Are you seeing that? They eat seaweed. And some of them will dive down 80 feet, but most of them just dive 6 feet or even just feet on the tide pools. They do get a lot of salt in their nose, so they have a special way in which they sneeze out that salt. She listened to waves crashing like cymbals against rocks, albatross trumpeting above steep cliffs, finches trilling piccolo notes. And every day she danced, bopping up and down with lava lizards. There she is. Stamping her feet with blue-footed boobies, twirling pirouettes with sea lions. That's exactly what they do around you as they swim. One day, as Valentina fed fallen plums to the family's tortoises, Papa told their story. A friend gave me Carlitos and Isabella when I moved to Floriana. They were so small I could carry one in each pocket. Giant tortoises still live on some Galapagos islands, but on Floriana, pirates and whalers took them all for food. How sad, said Valentina. Now, Valentina and her family did have a pet Galapagos tortoise. Today, they would not be able to do that, but they did at that time, and later they let them go to roam the island. Many Galapagos animals are in danger, said Papa, threatened by other animals that don't belong here, threatened by people who don't understand how to care for our islands. I will help to keep them safe, Valentina promised. The time came when Valentina had to leave Floriana to go far away to a new school. But Mama, she protested, I am a Galapagos girl. I belong here with the sea lions and penguins. You are ready to learn about the world beyond, said Mama. Like the sea, you are strong and free. And like our islands, you have a heart full of fire, said Papa. When Valentina sailed away from Floriana, she made a promise to the animals and her islands. I will not forget you, and I will help to keep you safe. On school holidays, Valentina returned to the Galapagos. She camped on remote islands to learn about birds, insects, reptiles, fish, and mammals. She studied in the wild and at school. Isn't that the perfect way to learn, at school and then in the wild, outdoors? Valentina became a biologist. She came home to be a nature guide and share her love of the Galapagos with visitors from the world beyond. She taught them to see brilliant colors, listen to the enchanting sounds of the islands, and swim with manta rays, dolphins, and see pingüinos. There's one of those little penguins. They are rather shy, so not as fun really as the sea lions who are all around you. But they're beautiful little creatures, and you do get to swim with them sometimes. And when the plum trees were heavy with fruit, the visitors watched Carlitos and Isabella return to Valentina's old home, for the tortoises had not forgotten those tasty treats. And it is true that whenever the plums ripened, the tortoise would return. And the plums are a little different than in the United States. They're a special kind of plum in the Galapagos. Because Valentina shared this magical world, when the visitors sailed away, they too made a promise to the animals and islands. We will not forget you, and we will help to keep you safe. I love everyone to say that with me when I visit students. We will not forget you, and we will help to keep you safe, which we can say about all the animals that we share the earth with. If you get this book from your library, or perhaps you might want to purchase it yourself, there's more information in the back. There's an author notes about my trip and Valentina's growing up there. There's information about the Galapagos, and then there's a little bit extra about each of the animals we met in the book. So thank you for sharing Galapagos Girl Galapagueña with me, and I do hope that someday you get to visit the Galapagos Islands and swim with sea lions. Enjoy Wild Tales Literacy event. Have fun all.
Thank you, Miss Arnold. The book is also available in Spanish as well, and the illustrations by Angela Dominguez are quite beautiful as well. Any guesses to what my favorite animal is? If you guessed Galapagos tortoise, you're absolutely correct. These amazing animals are only found in one place in the whole world. That's the Galapagos Islands, and a few zoos in the United States. And Gladys Porter Zoo is one of them. Let's head over and talk to our supervisor of reptiles, Ashley Ortega, and she'll introduce you to our herd of Galapagos tortoises.
Hi, my name is Ashley Ortega. I am the Associate Curator of Reptiles here at Gladys Porter Zoo, and joining me today is Houston, a female Galapagos tortoise. Tortoises like Houston are found on the Galapagos Islands, located about 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador. This remote archipelago is home to many unusual species of animals found nowhere else on the planet, like the Galapagos cormorant, marine iguanas, and a few species of birds known as Darwin's finches, named after Charles Darwin. But the most famous inhabitants of these islands are the world's largest tortoise, the gentle herbivorous Galapagos tortoise. Some of these species of Galapagos tortoises can weigh over 500 pounds. Houston here isn't quite that large, but she does weigh around 350 pounds. There are 11 species of Galapagos tortoises, and many of them have developed unique physical characteristics that allow them to survive in different habitats. These adaptations are evident in their body size, in the length of their legs and necks, and in the shape of their carapace, which is the top portion of their shell. The giant tortoises that inhabit the islands with lush plant growth have typical short legs and necks with dome-shaped carapace shared by some of the other small species of tortoise. But tortoises that live on dry islands in rocky volcanic environments with little ground vegetation are much more athletic. They have evolved longer necks and limbs and a saddleback carapace that allows them to reach high above the ground to eat from tree-formed cactuses that would be out of reach for a more typically shaped tortoise. Houston is considered a dome-shaped giant tortoise. Her species is found on the big island of the archipelago, Isabella Island. These tortoises are also a long-lived species. They can live over 100 years. Houston here was brought into the United States in 1928 and lived at Houston Zoo until 1985, which is how her name came to be. She was born in the wild, so while we don't know exactly how old she is, we do know that she is at least 93 years old. Houston, along with the rest of the adults here at Gladys Porter Zoo, are part of a species survival plan. The Galapagos tortoise breeding program ensures healthy bloodlines for the future so that we can make sure we have the species around for many more generations.
Thank you very much, Ashley, for showing us those amazing reptiles. We really appreciate all the hard work the herpetarium staff puts into raising and breeding these very endangered reptiles. Our next author's name is Sharon Putnam, and her story is called Nani's Wish, A True Pig's Tale.
Hello everyone, this is Sharon Putnam. I'm the author of this book, Nani's Wish, A True Pig Tale, but I do want to give credit to a couple of other people. Judy Coyne edited this story, and local artist and friend Donnie Breeden illustrated the story, so I'm glad to have them work with me on this. This is a true story. What you hear in this story really happened. So let's get started. Oh, and also Nani is the nickname of our daughter. Her real name is Anna, but we always called her Nani. And this is a book. This is a story about her when she was in elementary school. She's now a grown woman. So let's get started on Nani's Wish, A True Pig Tale. Nani decided she wanted a Dalmatian puppy for Christmas. Now, for those of you that may not know, a Dalmatian is a large dog with white background and black and liver-colored spots on its body. She wanted this Dalmatian puppy for Christmas. Whenever anyone asked her what Santa was bringing her, the answer was always the same, a puppy. In fact, she wrote a letter to Santa to make sure that he knew of her wish, and every night when she said her prayers, she reminded God about the puppy too. Nani's mom and dad became worried. They felt that a Dalmatian puppy was completely out of the question. For one thing, a puppy can cost a lot of money. They need the shots, special foods, and things such as leashes and bowls. Also, both of Nani's parents worked, so they would spend time with who's going to spend time with the puppy to train him. But there was something else bothering Nani's parents, and they were not sure Nani was old enough to understand. The family's dog, Rugby, had recently died, leaving them with an old house cat named Tiger and a yellow stray cat called Little Kitty. When Rugby died, Little Kitty was sad for a long time, for she had lost her best friend. The family felt very sad also, and Nani's parents weren't sure they were ready to become attached to another animal. But how to tell Nani? She had her heart set on a puppy. As Christmas drew near, they knew they had to tell her that this gift was not to be. Finally, one evening a few weeks before Christmas, Nani's mom sat her down at the kitchen table. "Nani," said her mom gently, "we will not be able to get you a puppy for Christmas. Your dad and I feel that it's just not the right time to take on the responsibility of a new pet, maybe when you're older." The look on Nani's face was the saddest her parents had ever seen. Her only wish for Christmas would not be coming true. There was no other gift she truly wanted. Even so, she said she understood, but her parents felt they had let her down. More than anything else, parents want their children to be healthy and happy, and they knew their decision had broken Nani's heart. The puppy was never mentioned again from that time on. The Thanksgiving holidays came and went, as did Christmas. Nani seemed pleased with the gifts from her family and thanked everyone many times for what they had given her. And then, just when all the excitement of Christmas seemed over, something amazing happened 2 days later. Nani and her cousins Jenny and Lindsay were playing in the backyard, making all of the noises and messes that happy children make. But suddenly, there was a noise that sounded different from the rest. A frightening noise that made Nani's mom jump up from her chair. The three girls came shrieking into the house, talking so quickly and loudly that they could barely be understood. Nani's dad was afraid they'd seen a snake because there were many to be found around their house out in the country. Finally, both parents had to wave their arms wildly to stop their screaming. When the girls finally caught their breath, the parents realized they were excited, not frightened. Come quickly, they shouted. We found something mysterious. It had grown dark outside, so Dad grabbed a flashlight and the five slowly walked to the middle of the backyard to see what the girls had discovered. They could hear a faint grunting sound as they got closer. What is that sound? Mom whispered to Dad. Beats me, said Dad, but we better be careful since we don't know what we're dealing with. The girls, however, seemed unafraid. In fact, they were beaming with excitement, their hands clutched in front of their chest in anticipation. At long last, the flashlight shone on a little creature who was standing still and grunting. Everyone looked at him in amazement. What in the world is that? Cried Mom. Dad smiled and said, I think it's a piglet. A piglet, the girls echoed. Indeed, it was a little baby pig, a black and white creature who looked like he had been through a terrible storm. Dad reached down and scooped him up in his arms. Everyone gathered around and they began wondering about the history of the poor little piglet. How old was he? Where had he come from? How did he become separated from his mother? They could see that he was very weak and probably had not eaten in days. His tiny body was covered with cactus needles, and his left front leg appeared to be injured. Very gently, they carried him into the house and set him down in front of a bowl of cereal and milk, and he lapped it up ever so piggishly. After he finished his meal, he seemed to lose all his energy and just lay beside his bowl. So the five rescuers prepared a bed for the piglet outside and vowed to find his mother in the morning. Everyone awoke early the next morning to find that the piglet had moved very little during the night. He still seemed very weak, and his legs seemed to be hurting him. Dad tried to get him to eat some more cereal, and when the piglet had finished his meal, Dad left to drive around the back roads in search of the piglet's mother. In the 9 years the family had lived in their house in the country, not once had they seen a pig in the area. And since they were a long way from the main road, how could this little piglet have traveled so far to get to their backyard? Puzzled, Dad returned home. In the meantime, Mom had called her dear friend Karen to get some advice about the piglet. Karen's mom had raised pigs, so she knew a lot about how to take care of them. As soon as Karen heard about the new member of the family, she came over immediately and on first sight fell in love with the little piglet. What's this little guy's name? Asked Karen. Why, I don't know, said Mom. We hadn't even thought about that. I have, Mom, said Nani. I'm going to call him Grunt. Mom and Karen laughed, for certainly that was a most fitting name for a pig. Grunt it is then, said Mom. Karen, what do you think we should do with Grunt? Does he look okay to you? No, he doesn't, said Karen. He looks like a very sick little piggy to me. You should take him to the vet to see if he can help him. Oh no, thought Mom, a trip to the vet might mean lots of money. Who knew how much medicine the piglet might need, and if it would even survive? Nani waited breathlessly, a pleading look in her eyes. She so wanted to save the piglet. Mom and Dad looked at each other and they knew that they couldn't let Nani down again. Mom went to the phone to make an appointment with a vet. Yippee, yelled Nani, we're going to save Grunt. The vet's office was filled with the usual assortment of dogs and cats, a turtle with a broken shell, and a very colorful bird. Most of the pet owners stared in amazement as Grunt was carried in, wrapped in a towel. One woman whispered, "What is that?" while the others just shook their heads. Finally, Dr. Crouch called them in to the examining room. He checked the sleeping piglet carefully. Finally, he looked at the eager faces of the family and said, "This little piglet is very sick. He has lost a lot of weight and his leg is broken. I'm not sure he's strong enough to live." "Oh no," cried Nani. "You have to try to fix him." "Okay," said Dr. Crouch, "I'll give him some shots to help him, but the rest is up to you. Take him home and make him a bed inside the house. It was too cold for him outside. Find a heating pad for him to sleep on and feed him lots of oatmeal and milk. Keep him clean, give him lots of love and attention, and maybe that will be enough to save him." Grunt was picked up, the bill was paid, and they set off for home. Though not a word was spoken, each of them spent the ride home thinking about ways to save Grunt. Finally, a little voice from the back seat of the car said, "Mom, he's going to be okay. I just know it." "How do you know that?" Nani asked her mom. "I've been praying. You know, Mom, ever since you and Dad said I couldn't have a puppy, I've been praying to God to bring me something to love. I told him anything would do, a bird, a fish, a gerbil, anything. I have to admit I was surprised that it was a pig. But I just know this is a gift from God. And that's why Grunt found his way into our yard. I knew that the first time I saw him." Well, thought Nani's mom, if this child believed a piglet was a gift from God, then maybe he was. All she knew was that Nani had received a gift she truly wanted, and she loved that little piglet with all her heart. From that time on, not one negative word was said about whether Grunt would live. Nani made sure he got plenty of love and attention, sitting with him hour after hour, feeding, hugging, and talking him back to life. With each passing day, Grunt grew stronger. Meanwhile, Grunt took his place as the newest member of the family. An animal carrier filled with old towels and a heating pad became his favorite sleeping spot in the kitchen. Old milk cartons blocked off all the doors leading out of the kitchen, so he couldn't wander around the house as he grew stronger. The family fed him often, and he grew stronger each day. In fact, one night Grunt decided to prove just how strong he had become. The family had gone to bed and were all sleeping peacefully when Nani's mom awoke to a very strange sound. She looked from her bed into the hallway. There, looking up at her and making pig noises, was Grunt. How had that little stinker broken through the wall of milk cartons? When she led him back to the kitchen, she discovered that none of the milk cartons had been moved. He must have climbed over them. The broken leg was definitely better. The next morning, Nani's mom went to see how Grunt had made it through the rest of the night, but Grunt was nowhere to be found. "Oh my goodness," worried Nani's mom. "Where on earth could he be?" She quickly searched other rooms in the house, but could not find Grunt. She went to wake Nani so she could help in the search. There, lying on the carpet next to Nani's bed, was Grunt, sleeping ever so soundly. She smiled at the sight of them and tiptoed out of the room. Grunt continued to get better and better every day, and bigger. So Nani's dad built him an outdoor pen complete with a little house that could protect him from the rain and cold winds. Grunt was most comfortable. Once Grunt made the move to the outdoors, little Kitty took over almost immediately. She became Grunt's adoptive mother, licking his face and ears to clean him, and following him around the yard to make sure he did not get into trouble. At night, they slept together in the little house, keeping each other warm. Nani was especially happy to see that they had become best buddies. Well, when all was said and done, the family had a fine, healthy pig for a pet. It had, of course, cost them a few extra dollars, but what mattered most was that they had nursed Grunt back to health. And just as importantly, they had helped Nani get her wish. Looking back, they decided that Grunt was indeed a gift from God. As for Grunt and little Kitty, if you look for one of them, you'll always find the other. Grunt now weighs over 300 pounds, so instead of little Kitty lying next to him on cold winter nights, she lies on top of him, a sight to behold. And that's the story of Grunt and Nani's wish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Putenant, for your amazing story. Thank you so much for reading it to us. We really enjoyed it. We want to take this opportunity and say a huge thank you to all of our wonderful authors and storytellers that were able to join us this year for Wild Tales. Rosie Lima, Marsha Diane Arnold, Jane Hawk Garza, Sharon S. Putenant, Melanie Smith from the BICD Library, and Parker Coppins. We also want to thank the extremely talented Carol DeMoss for all the wonderful artwork she has here at Gladius Porter Zoo. We also want to thank Sea Turtle Inc. And a huge thank you goes out to Carol DeMoss for lending her amazing artistic ability to the zoo. We also want to thank Sea Turtle Inc. for all the wonderful conservation projects that they are involved in on South Padre Island, and also for joining us this year for Wild Tales. And also, last but certainly not least, we really appreciate all the zoo staff who took time out of their busy schedules to help make this event possible. Jonathan Gonzalez, Stephanie Hernandez, Damian Harrison, and Ashley Ortega. Thank you so much. So on the behalf of myself and the entire faculty and staff here at Gladius Porter Zoo, we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Take care.